I've got a tank.
We have a Hulk.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Jehan the Bomb, and today I'll be talking a little bit about my new marine tank. So about a couple of months back, Max and I, my friend Alex, and I went out to fish. We were doing some light rock fishing, arging kind of fishing, using some really small rubbers. I was using the cheap AliExpress rubbers, a split shot and a really long shank hook. And that was fun, and we both got ourselves onto some decent fish. And on that day we got quite a bit of Wrasse and also some groupers. So Max decided to take home one of these small little grouper home and start his own fish tank. So I thought like, yo, that shit is cute as hell. So I decided to start my own tank, and I planned like for the next couple of weeks, plan all my inventory to buy from AliExpress. I will share with you guys about the things which I have put in the tank, filters and the protein skimmer and all that stuff, and also the price list. And hopefully this video will give you guys an insight if you guys would ever think of start your own tank. Hopefully this video might be slightly useful to you. I am not sure, and yes, let's see the tank. Yeah. Alright, so in this thing I got like a double sponge filter thing. It's a pretty slim profile. There are some really huge ones which I've seen used in aquariums, and I think those might work better in suction, but these ones are great because you can wash one sponge out and keep the other in to hold the bacteria, and you can rotate like clean one of the sponge every week instead of having to clean one whole big sponge and then probably killing off like most of the bacteria in that sponge. But of course, if you clean it with like the aquarium water, I'm sure that you'll retain most of the bacteria instead of cleaning with like chlorinated water. And then I have a little thermometer and what do you call it, salt level measuring thing inside there. There we go, just to make sure that salt level salinity is pretty okay. Got some algae down there. It's a bunch of not sure what kind of algae are those, but they're macroalgae, green macroalgae. And right inside there, I'm not sure you guys can see, is my protein skimmer. There it is. It's a really slim profile protein skimmer. This is my LED light. It's a RGB waterproof LED light. And for the protein skimmer, I wanted the whole setup actually to be in the tank. So everything is in the tank, the protein skimmer, the filter, and yeah, it's all inside, and I'll be able to cover it up nicely. So that was the design of the idea of this design of this tank. Really simple grill here. What else? Oh, I put another air stone in there just to circulate the water a little bit, so it'll push out the water, suck in from here and push it up, creates a little difference in pressure there to actually circulate the water across the whole tank. And yeah, that's my Wrasse just swimming around. The groupers, one of them tend to stay in this little hole, and the other one likes to stick by the filter right there. So yeah, I threw in a bunch of shells which from another tank previously. Collected them after some dinner thing. Yeah, so we actually ate the clams and then keep the shell, wash them, dry them in the sun, and then just throw them in. Some rocks to hold some of the biofilter. Got a few of them here. Collected them from natural source, can't tell you where. And the substrate is sand with like littered with like some coral bits. Really cheap substrate. And yeah, My water is slightly yellow, and I hope that the algae there would clear it up in due time. So yeah, that's pretty much my tank. It's a pretty simple setup, and I will talk more about it probably. Okay, see ya. Woo! 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 And we're back. So I've had this tank for about close to a month and a half right now, and the fish are doing fine. All three fish are doing fine. The two, I think, chocolate bar grouper, chocolate high grouper, chocolate grouper, and also the Ross, which I think is a diamond pattern Ross or something like that. So if I've got the names wrong, do correct me in the descriptions below and educate me. So I'll be sharing a little bit about the tank itself, what I've put in so far, the costs, and also touch a little bit about caring for groupers and rods, and also a little bit about what I felt like I could have done better when setting up the tank. So we'll go through all that in a while. So yeah, hopefully it'll be like an insightful video for you guys, from a beginner like me, and hopefully you guys will not repeat the same mistakes which I did, and you guys will have a successful tank as well if you guys ever decide to start one on your own. So yeah, I'll head over to the screen behind. Got my drawing pad, and I'll see you guys in a while. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we're back, and I'm gonna go straight into it. I'm gonna explain to you what I've put into the tank itself, and obviously the first one would obviously be the tank itself. So first up we have the tank. I think mine is an acrylic tank. It's acrylic is slightly lighter, but apparently it was less scratch resistant as compared to like glass tanks. But it was a fairly okay price at about, I think, 45 bucks. Oh crap, 45 bucks right down there. And if I'm not wrong, you can get the same like 2 feet kind of tank. It's a Gex tank. I believe you can get the same one for like, I think, 30 bucks on Carousel. So if you guys are gonna start the tank on a budget, just head over to Carousel to find a better price tank. I was at the shop and I saw the tank and I just bought it because I was buying the substrate and also like the salt and all those stuff, so got it all at the same time, so paid a little bit more for the tank. So maybe I should write it down nicely. So the tank is about 45 bucks. Then we have the salt. So we have to mix in the marine salt itself. So I think it was about not that expensive. I'll put it at 15 bucks. I can't really recall. A bottle of like salt water is about 6 bucks each. I think it's like 1 liter or 2 liters. And I believe the packet of salt, actually I used like 3/4 of the packet of salt which I bought, and I still had the remaining 1/4 for any future top up, so that's great. I'm not really too sure about the price, but it should be around 15 to 20 ish, so let's just keep it at 15 for now. And what other things we have? So we got the, let me see, let's draw out the tank. We got the water, the substrate. Yes, substrate. I had sand. So I bought actually 2 packets of sand. I think each packet was like $4, but I only used 1 packet for like an inch of sand for the substrate, so let's put that at $4. But if you would like a thicker base of sand, you might want to use both packets, which will bring you up to $8. And what else did I have? Alright, so I think that is the basic. I've got some rocks, which they're not really rocks, they're like dried up corals. You can buy them from the shop, but I got mine for free from the source itself. I'm not gonna tell you guys where I got it from, because that could be slightly sensitive. But if you guys are gonna get any fish, I would advise you guys to also get some rocks, like live rock, to actually act as a biological filter for the tank itself and stabilize the tank, remove some nitrates and nitrites and nitrogen and ammonia, just remove all that shit out. So you guys might want to consider rocks. Rocks are important. Alright, bacteria. Speaking of bacteria, I bought a bottle of starter bacteria, which was about, I think, $8. $8 for a bottle of bacteria, one of the cheaper ones. Apparently not a very good brand, but it kind of worked. My fish are still alive after 1.5 months, so I think it might be working, so that's great. So the rock and the bacteria are together. I also bought some anti-chlorine. I bought how much was it? I think it was like $12. Okay, so for this anti-chlorine, I got it after I bought all the other stuff, like about a week after, and I got it because I was like really nervous that the chloramine content in the water will not be cleared after that 1 week of cycle. So I decided to buy the anti-chlorine. So that's one of the mistakes, which I should have just bought it from the get-go. Anti-chlorine. What else? Okay, let me just run through like the things which I put in the tank. I also had oh right, the rocks I had like broken. Oh, how do you spell broken? Shit. Broken coral chips. Those were really cheap. They were like, I think, $2.50 for a small bag. I think I got like 2 bags of it. Very cheap, so let's put it as $5. Broken coral chips. They're great for like holding some bacterial content for your biofilter as well, and I just like the look of it in the tank. I like it. For mechanical filter, I had I got one of this dual kind of dual sponge filter thing off the AliExpress platform. Let me just check the price on this. It's about, there we go, $3.53. $3.53. So let's just round that off to like $3.50. Alright, and then I also had this air hose, which cost me about $2.60. So run it down to $2.50 for the air hose. What else do I have? Oh, I also have this splitter at $2.50. Splitter, I used it to split one of the air outlet from the air pump. And how much is the air pump? The air pump is about, let me see, $12. So the air pump, let me just draw it down here. The air pump with 2 outlets is $12. It's really $12.40, but let's just round that down, and I'll add in all the miscellaneous additional prices after that. What else did I have? Right, air hose, pump. Oh right, I have my protein skimmer, which was about, let me see, $18.40. So let's just run it up to 19 together with the small amounts from the other stuff. So we got a protein skimmer. Protein skimmer was $18, so let's run it up to $19. Alright, I think I pretty much have most of the things which I have. There's also some other accessories inside which I have not accounted for. About alright, an additional air stone for about 260 for an additional air stone. And also, oh, lighting, I had like a $22 light, so let's just draw a light bulb there. Lights for about $22. And some other accessories. Oh right, I also have one of these fish tank feeder thing, which cost me about $4 plus. Oh, that's already 10 minutes into the video. So I got an accessory inside. It's just a small little holder with a suction cup at the back, $4. So yeah, if you do the math, it's about 420. Yeah, it's about there, about $160. So, oh shit, that cost me quite a bit, but it's worth it. It's worth it for now. Alright, also we have some food for the fish. I had one bottle of like small pellets, which cost me about, I think, $20. I don't know why it's so expensive. I just bought it on impulse because it looked really nice. And also had a bottle of like shrimp, dried shrimp, which costs about $9. So that will last me for, I guess, maybe 2 to 3 months, because I feed the groupers like 1 or 2 shrimp a day in the morning and night. So it's still holding strong. So yeah, about 180. I'll give this all to about $200 if you really want to start your own tank. Have a budget of about $200. Anyway, the concept for my tank is that I wanted everything to be in the tank itself, like the filter and the protein skimmer. I wanted everything to be inside the tank, because I honestly had initially wanted to put it as an indoor tank, but then I decided not to, and I already had the plans to actually do it as an indoor plan, so I didn't want to have like any of the water containing devices sticking out of the tank, like an overhead pump, overhead filter, or is it overhead filter? No, it's not an overhead filter. It's a, what kind? The hangover filter thing, like the waterfall shit. Yeah, I didn't want any of that. I also didn't want any electrical parts in the tank itself, because I don't want heat to be dissipated in the dissipate, I don't know, into the tank. I don't want the water to heat up. So I had the idea of keeping it simple with just air powered filter and also air powered skimmers. So I had one protein skimmer using air powered. It pumps the air from the pump itself. Wow, I'm repeating a lot of words. So the protein skimmer runs on air, and it's a in-tank protein skimmer, so that in case it ever overflows, the yucky stuff would just flow back into the water, which is not as bad as it flowing out of the tank itself. So that was one thing which I did. The other thing I did was I insisted on a sponge filter, an air-powered sponge filter, because I also didn't want to have multiple plugs to be plugged in to run the whole setup. So I had just one air pump to power both the skimmer and also the air filter. The sponge filter, yes. So my setup is kind of like that. I got this, that is the top of the tank. Oh yes, I also have the cover of the tank, which cost me about another 10 bucks or so. So I have my filters at the corner there, and then I've got the skimmer in there to remove all the protein, and then outside I have the air pump just plugged into both this thing. I've got a splitter here, so the splitter runs another pipe across the tank itself to an air stone here. So basically I have air coming out through here, air coming out through here, and then the whole system is circulating water, and that way I will remove any spots where the water doesn't move. So it's great because it actually pushes all the yucky stuff into the filter itself, and it's doing great so far. It's doing great. So I had one time when the airflow for because I use a splitter here to power both the protein skimmer and the air stone at the side here. I came back one day and one of the pipes came out, and the protein skimmer was overflowing because all the air was going through the protein skimmer and none of it was going to the air stone. So that was a problem, and it might work the other way as well. So regulating both the airflow into either of these things would be a little bit tricky, but not that difficult to do. Alright, and we're back. So let's talk about the life forms in the tank. So right now I have two groupers. I think they're chocolate high groupers or chocolate bar groupers. I can't remember the name. And also one Wrasse, which I believe is a diamond Wrasse or diamond pattern Wrasse, something like that. Right, just these two species, two of the groupers, one of the Wrasse, and also I have the macro algae in the tank. So I got the macro algae only quite recently, and then I got it free from my colleague. And then after that I decided to buy some lighting to actually hopefully improve the growth rate of the macroalgae, and so that they can flourish and keep the water quality stable, and remove the phosphates and the nitrates and whatever shit that's in there which isn't great for the fish. So yeah, that's that for the macroalgae. So let's talk about the fish. I have two groupers, one Wrasse. I've repeated that quite a number of times. So let's talk about the Wrasse first. Okay, from the get-go, like when I first got all the fish, they were really terrified of me. Once they see me, they would hide. On the first day itself, I thought the groupers ate the Wrasse, because like I couldn't find the Wrasse anywhere in the tank after I put it in. So it was like, yo, like, did this grouper eat like a same size Wrasse? Which is quite insane to think about it. And then I realized, like, after I checked online about Wrasse and their habits, and then I realized that the Wrasse was actually had hidden itself in the sand bed. So I thought that was kind of a cute thing which it did, and it actually amused me a lot. So I tried to finger through the sand to actually find where it is, and it was alive and well, terrified of me, but alive for like, until now it's still alive, but it was terrified until I managed to get them to feed. So both the groupers and the Wrasse were terrified at me, at my presence, and they would hide until I managed to get them to eat. So at the beginning, I didn't know like how to actually encourage the fish to accept food which I give to them. So I bought like this bottle of puny tiny pellets. I thought that would do the trick, so I dropped like a bunch of them in there, and I thought the fish had consumed them, but it turned out that the Wrasse was just going through the sand and hiding the pellets. So that was a pain to deal with. I got scammed for like a week or two, or about a week. Yeah, I got scammed for like about a week. I thought the fish were happily eating the pellets, but then I realized that the Wrasse was like showing signs of real distress. It was like leaning on the sand on the tank, and then just floating and drifting to one side and breathing really heavily. So that worried me quite a bit. Then I tried to feed them some prawns, some fresh prawns, like prawn meat, but they didn't want to take that as well. So it was rather concerning for me, because prawn and pellets were not working. So I went back to the fish shop and I got myself some freeze-dried prawns, and also a bunch of live what do you call it, live feeder fish. I think they were like guppies or like puny, I don't know, small freshwater fish. So I started to feed them the live fish, which they did not take immediately as well. They only managed to start eating when I was away from the tank, so that was kind of heartbreaking for me. They were so afraid of me, but I guess it was only natural because these fish were from the wild caught, so it made sense that they were still not familiar with their surroundings. So but the next day after I've put in the feeder fish, live feeder fish, I noticed that they had wiped out all the feeder fish. So that was a good sign that at least they were feeding and they seemed more healthy. So I repeated this process again for the coming days. I guess keep feeding them feeder fish, but then I slowly changed it up a little bit while putting in the feeder fish. Because some of the feeder fish would actually stay on the surface of the water, I decided to drop in some of the freeze-dried prawns. So the groupers, I actually limited the number of feeder fish I put in. So I put in one feeder fish at a time, and also I dropped in some freeze-dried prawns, and the groupers would sometimes mistake the prawns for feeder fish and would just consume it. At first they would spit it out, and then they would realize that, oh, this thing tastes good, so they would eat it. So that took me a while to train them to eat the freeze-dried prawns, and that's where we are now. Hopefully in the future I might be able to train the groupers to eat like some bigger pellets, but honestly the freeze-dried prawns are not that expensive, so I might be able to maintain this for a little longer. And it's, as long as the groupers are feeding, to me it's fine that maybe the freeze-dried prawns are slightly more expensive than pellets. So yes, for future plans I'll try to find some way to get the groupers to feed on pellets. And after feeding the smaller size feeder fish to the fish which I have in my tank, the Wrasse also managed to feed on some of these smaller live fish, and then after which it got healthier a little bit, and it started to realize that the puny little pellets which I had initially put in before they got familiar with their surroundings, the Wrasse also slowly grew accustomed to taking in the smaller pellets. So where we're at now is that the Wrasse, let me see how I draw the Wrasse with their small little mouth eating like little pellets, which is great. I just used like one of those coffee stirrers. Use one of those coffee stirrers to actually drop in like a bunch of small little pellets every morning, just like half a spoon of the stirrer, and I would feed the grouper one dried shrimp each, dried krill, freeze-dried krill each. in the morning, and when I return home every night I would also feed them one more time. So they're doing pretty great so far. So where we are now is that the fish are eating well and they're active, and because they're happier right now, they seem to be being more acceptable with me being around. And recently I've even managed to feed one of the groupers by hand, so that's great. And slowly update you guys on the progress of the fishes. So other than the fish, what else do I talk about? Right, things which I would have done differently from the get-go. So first up, which on mistakes which I did, I would say is sand, right? The sand substrate, I was really like clueless about how to do it, like how to set up the tank. So I did not wash the sand, so there was a lot of sand dust in the water when I first started the tank. So that was quite a pain to clear all the sand dust. I would advise you to do some proper cleaning of the sand or any other substrate before introducing it into your tank, just so that you will save the trouble of trying to clear it out later on. That's the one thing which I would really urge you guys to do. What else is there which I would recommend you guys to do? Alright, feeding. From the get-go, I guess you have to do up some reading and get the base plan on how you're going to introduce food to your fish before they die off. So I was playing a really risky game with the fish's life by introducing them to pellets straight away. I was confident that they would take it. I was wrong. So that is one thing which also I would really advise you guys to actually take note of. Cycling of the tank was fine. Introducing the fish in also okay. Lighting wise, yeah, no regrets so far. Filter wise also, I guess let's just put filter there as well. Number 3, filter. Alright, so the truth is these groupers, they shit a lot. They eat massive amount and they shit a lot, and the tank water will grow foul fast. So I would advise you, if you have the capability or the option, go ahead and go for one of those hangover filters or power head to really clear out all that shit from the tank. Because this small little filter which I'm using now, they're doing fine for now, but I'm afraid that once the groupers get bigger, my 2-feet tank will not be able to support them, my filter will not be able to support them. So I think I have a lot of work coming up in actually planning ahead about how to go about keeping this fish happy. And I'm actually glad that I got the chocolate bar groupers instead of like hybrid grouper. I think we should grow extra fast. So yeah, so I guess that's one thing which I did kind of right, not choosing a terrible species to keep. If I would be able to start over this whole tank again, I would definitely just go with a full Wrasse tank, because the Wrasse are way easier to handle. They eat lesser and they're easier to feed. They would source for food, they would search for food in the tank, and I would imagine that they will not grow as big as the groupers could potentially get to. So these are the few things which I think I would have done differently. Yeah, so I've talked for quite a while right now, and my throat is getting really dry. This is like a crazy half an hour presentation on like my fish tank, and I think there's more work to be done. More discussion as well. If you guys have anything you want to share with me about your own personal preference or experiences about your own tank, just comment down in the comment section below, and I would try my best to answer you or share what my opinions are with you guys. And you can always reach me on my Instagram or my Facebook page. Anyway, just email me, whatever, and I would almost always go through all your comments. So there's that. And yeah, so this is just a separate hobby from fishing, I would say. I think it's an exciting and also very interesting experience for myself, and because the Ajing scene or the light rock fishing scene in Singapore is getting quite popular and trending these days, and I would think that this might be a good option for you guys who would like to actually keep some of your catches instead of just throwing them back into the sea for the future, or keeping them for food. So this is one option which you can use for your fish. It's an option. It's not really the cheapest form of I would say pets or keeping of fish. Guppies would definitely have be lower maintenance and easier to keep. The salt is a bitch, water change is a bitch, but I think it provides some kind of I don't know, sense of achievement, I guess, when you're able to finally be able to keep your own marine tank or something. I don't know what is it about the marine tank which actually gets to me. I enjoy looking at my fish every day before I go to work, and when I come home. It's just really soothing for the mind, I feel, and the soul or whatever. I didn't know that the groupers could look so elegant in the water, so that's one takeaway which I have gotten from this whole experience, and I'm just glad that I could share it with you guys and hopefully inspire some of you guys to actually also go ahead and dive into this fish keeping hobby. So yeah, there's that. If you guys have any questions you have for me in terms of maintenance or price or where to get stuff or how to actually hook up to some of these fish, just comment in the section below or contact me on my Instagram or my Facebook page. I'm always here, and I will try my best to help you guys out. And so yeah, once again, thank you guys for watching me. So that's all for me today. I believe there's some parts which have been cut out abruptly. I don't know why my camera is freaking out. So that's all for me tonight. It's dark out. So that's all for me tonight. Tight lines and smiley face.